Hey guys, welcome to today's video. I'm super excited to share kind of an experiment with you, and I don't know the final results of it or even as I unpack this, but what I have here in front of me is 2 trays of Green Giant Arborvitaes that have been in propagation for the last year or less, and these are just dish pans that I bought from the dollar store. And this particular pan here, I stuck these cuttings last year during late January or February, something like that, while they were cold and dormant. And this particular tray, I stuck them under the mist while they were green and growing as softwoods this summer in July. So this July and last February. So these have had a full growing season to root, and these have had about half a growing season to root, but totally different ways. And today I want to dig these out and go through them and kind of see how they've grown and developed, and it'll be an interesting experiment to find out if I think it's better to root these as hardwoods or as softwoods. So let's dig these out of here and let's see how their roots look. So we've moved over here into our barn just to get out of the weather a little bit because it's cold outside. And here are the 2 trays. And this tray here with larger plants in it are the ones that I stuck in the winter. So a full growing season ago. So now we're at the end of 2022. These were stuck in the very first months of 2022 as hardwoods. Again, these were stuck later this summer in July under mist. So that's the difference, kind of the discrepancy in what you see, why these look much larger and these look a little smaller. But what I can't wait to see is the difference in their roots and just how they did, because I've never tried this. I've never compared them side by side. So I'm really anxious to see what kind of roots we're getting propagating from hardwoods versus softwoods under the mist in the summer. All right, these are Thuja Green Giants, and I have a label right here that I stuck in them July the 9th. So that was the day that I stuck these cuttings. So, well, I'm not going to say too much about them because I don't know. I'm not going to guess what they're doing or not, but let's just dig some of them out. It looks like really high success rate with these. I don't see, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 dead ones in here at all. I'm not really sure. Anyway, we'll see when we dig them out, but they rooted really, really well as far as numbers go. So these are always a little tricky to get out of here without throwing your propagation sand everywhere, but all right, here they are. It looks like these roots are going to be really, really small, but that's okay. That's not bad. But I just wanted to see how they look. All right, let's just pull one out. I'm just going to lay that right there. And that's a good example of one of the cuttings. Now, I don't have anything to compare that to. I don't know if that's really an average one, but let's just keep going and let's see what we have here. So going through these, when you propagate these in sand, it makes them really easy to dig out of their pans. Like the roots don't get so intertwined with each other and they don't get so tangled up where it just becomes this solid mass that you just can't deal with. And arborvitaes, they don't get near as tangled up as some other plants do. So anyway, I just root them in sand, and it's mixed with a little bit of pine bark just for drainage. All you need is something that drains really well. So there's another cutting. I'm going to just go through some of these and just show you kind of what they're going to look like. They are pretty well rooted. They're just really small. So I'm not really surprised or not surprised. It's just what they are. But so far as I'm pulling out, I think that's 4. They look really uniform, and that's good. You know, you're going to always have some variation in them, some big ones, some small ones, but these are really, really uniform. And I don't know what my takeaway from that is at this point, but maybe that July is a good time of year to root these things. But I'm really happy with how these look. Just hardly any dead ones at all. Small root systems, but these things are going to do great. I'm not going to have any issues with them. So really happy with what I see here. Looking forward to pulling all these out and getting a count on them. And I'll show you how many we wind up getting out of this. This is just one tray that I have, and I did several trays this way. I think about 5 trays that I did this way, and 4 or 5 trays that I did as hardwoods as well. So I want to kind of dig them out, compare them, kind of get some averages on them. Now here's one that didn't work. You can see that one has no roots at all. Somehow it managed to stay green, but it has no roots on it whatsoever, so we'll just discard that and move on. So the good thing is we're not seeing a lot of that. So far so good. All right, we dug all the cuttings out, and here's our propagation sand. Here's our rooted cuttings, and here's all the ones that are dead / didn't root. So there's probably 10 or 12 of those that did not root. Kind of deceptive when you're looking into the pan and they look green, but You know, if I left those in there, they may wind up rooting by spring. I don't really know, but they're trash as far as I'm concerned. And here are all the ones that did root. So let's see how many that is. So given a quick count here, there's 12 of these that died, that didn't make it, and there were 66 that did root. So we're going to just heal these in for the winter. I'm not going to do anything with them and just heal them in. And sometime before warm up in the spring, maybe February, maybe early March, we'll get these potted so they can grow out. And now some of these have tiny, tiny roots on them and they may not make it, but most of them are at least, you know, rooted like that, like that. Again, you've got some variation, some a little better, some a little worse, but all of those will make it and they'll be just fine. Just because they're small doesn't mean that they're not healthy and that they're going to thrive. So I'm going to say on these that we did in Under the Mist in July, I would say I'm really pleased with them. I thought they might have a little bit better roots on them than they do, but all in all, I'm really pleased with them. So these should overwinter just fine. All right, now we're going to have a look at these cuttings. They have to be bigger rooted. They just have to be. These have put on several inches of growth. And again, these were stuck in the sand as hardwood cuttings. And hardwood, when you're talking about cuttings, hardwood just means that they were stuck when the wood was hard or dormant wood during the winter season. So probably February last year, but it really doesn't matter. And again, it is, what is it, November the 12th or whatever now. So anyway, let's get these out. They should have pretty big roots on them. We'll see how many are alive and how many are dead, and just kind of have a look and see what we should make of this. All right, the very first one I pulled out is really small, so I'm not encouraged by that, but it's got to be among the smaller ones in here. So hardly any roots at all there to speak of for something that's been in propagation for that long. So that's not real encouraging. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I can just tell, though, these are going to generally be much, much bigger. So there's just some examples of those. I'll pull out some more of those and show you those. All right, so we dug this pan out and we've got, I'd say, a few more dead ones, probably 15 or 18 dead ones that didn't root. And this, again, this is from the hardwood cuttings batch, and here are the rooted ones. On average, their roots are bigger, but they've been stuck longer. But I was actually a little bit disappointed that these roots weren't bigger. I think part of their issue, this sand seems to be really dry to me. I mean, that's almost just beach sand that they were in, and I wonder if through the season, if I haven't kept these moist enough. That may have something to do with it. They've had less sunshine because they have been under a cover, and I'm just not sure how that works exactly, other than to say this is the results of my experiment. So I need to think about that a little bit more and see if I can figure out, I don't want to say what went wrong, because I've got a really nice pile of rooted cuttings here and I'm very, very happy about that. But that being said, I would have liked to see these roots twice this size on these rooted cuttings for them having been in there for an entire year, you know, minus a couple months of winter that don't matter anyway. So let me just see how many this is. All right, so there were exactly 60 of these that rooted. So between this one and the first pan that I did from the July cuttings, that's about, 120 rooted cuttings, and I've got about 5 times this many in more pans of each. So, you know, if the numbers maintain themselves, then we should have at least 500 rooted cuttings. So I'm really happy with that from this season. But what I want to do is get better with these. Again, a little disappointed in these, but only because I've never tried them, and at least thankfully most of them did root. So that's a good thing. But I guess what I want you to see, and what I'm learning myself here, is that you can successfully root these green giants through hardwood cuttings. You can do them great that way. You can do them under mist and have really good success that way too. So one way of propagating them might suit you better than the other way, and this just goes to show that either one will work. A couple more trays here in front of me, and then I got 5 or 6 more over there to dig out. I'm going to go ahead and get all of those dug out and just get them healed back in and just held in place until next spring, and I'll probably pot these in little 3.5-inch pots or something like that to grow them out, and then they should be ready to sell the next season as 2 years start to finish. So guys, I hope in some way this is helpful to you. It's interesting to me nonetheless, but I appreciate y'all watching. I love y'all, and I'll see you on the next one.